It is 10:34 in this rainy morning on here, the 19th day of February 2024. It is pouring rain at Site B. I am still under a red alert flash flood warning. Whee! So somebody asked me to try and explain this automatic hit mechanic that seems to have suddenly bubbled up to the top of tabletop role-playing game stuff. So I'll try. I don't know if I'm going to do a good job, but I'm going to try and explain it to the best of my understanding. So this is in MCDM, the Matt Colville role-playing game. We know that there's a mechanic where your character just hits. I assume the bad guy also just hits. And then everything else is determined afterwards. We also know that this mechanic is currently part of Daggerheart and a couple other games. I think it's going to be used in the Brandon Sanderson Stormlight game. I was told DC-20 also uses the automatic hit mechanic, but now I've then also been told, no, it doesn't. So I have to go and watch the videos on DC-20 to see if it's true. Now, this is not the first time this mechanic has appeared. I have run into it before. I believe it was in True 20, but I know it's existed before then. So the simplest take on this I can get is, well, in combat, when you hit somebody, you roll to hit. But everything else is that person rolling against it. Like if I cast poison, I don't roll to hit. They roll a saving throw. If suddenly there's a pit, the pit doesn't roll to hit. They roll saving throw to jump out of the way. If my wizard casts charm, my wizard doesn't roll to hit. The person I'm casting charm on rolls to make a saving throw. So we have rolls to hit versus armor class, and then we have everything else. So bare bones, what the auto hit mechanic does, I think, at least the first time I encountered it, was just make the roll to hit part of everything else. Instead of me rolling to hit your armor class, I just automatically hit, and then you roll your armor class to see whether I hit or not. Same like I automatically charm you unless you make your saving throw, and then you're not charmed. I automatically hit you unless you make your armor class saving throw, and then you're not hit. So that's the first rule. That's the first take on it. That's the first time I ever encountered it, was that. And that kind of makes sense. It sort of works. It puts more impetus on the defender. And from the DM's point of view, it's one less mechanic I have to worry about. And then whatever. And then when it's the DM's turn, it's just another saving throw, just like if the wizard was casting Charm Person on my orc. I've tried using that method several times. The problem was we always forgot. We still rolled to hit, even though we were not supposed to, because you're pre-programmed to roll to hit. So to try and take that away is just weird, and it's a backwards, long, slow thought experiment to try and get to that point. Okay, so people are saying, well, this allows me to do something in combat where before, if I didn't hit, I was stuck doing nothing. Now I automatically hit, which means I get to do something. But does it though? I mean, first, you're coming from the point of view that you couldn't do anything in the combat other than hit him with a stick, where there are an infinite list of possible things you could do that don't involve rolling to hit. And there are infinite things that your character can do in an encounter that have nothing to do with combat. Okay, so that's the first problem, is that mentality that if I'm not rolling to hit and if I'm not succeeding in my hit, I'm not doing anything. I'm useless in the combat. And that's 6, 10, 15 rounds where I'm just sitting there going, doop, 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 doop. Okay, so that's not the game's fault. That's your fault that you don't have the creativity to come up with something to do. Because I assure you, I can always come up with something to do, even if it's a combat I can't be a part of. So that's the first idea, is that it, I can't hit, so I can't do anything. So let's just put that. I automatically hit, and then they have to roll a saving throw. I kind of like that. I kind of think it works. It's just, again, you have to program yourself to think that way, because otherwise you're still rolling. Now, the second one, and I think this is the one most of them are using, is the soak rule, which is kind of the same thing, but backwards. So soak rule number one says, I automatically hit unless. So I'm right? So that's the second soak rule. And basically that second soak rule says, okay, instead of rolling to hit, I'm rolling a D20 damage or whatever. And if that damage is over your armor, you take the damage. And if it's under your armor, you don't take the damage. But I'm still rolling. So I still get to do something because I'm equating rolling with doing something. And if I'm not rolling in the dice in combat, I'm not doing anything. Well, this says I automatically did something to the bad guy, but the bad guy still has a chance to shrug some of it off. I think. Now, the third one is the soak rule. Okay. I automatically hit. I'm still rolling my damage randomly. So let's say I roll 2d6 to hit RPG Grandma, and I roll 9. 9's a good number. Okay, my total is 9. Now then we compare my automatically hit. I do 9 damage to RPG Grandma's soak. Let's say RPG Grandma's soak is 10. All right, so I don't do any damage. She soaks all of it. Then we could have it be ablative. All right, the first time I do 9 points of damage, RPG Grandma doesn't take any damage because her soak is 10, but I've hit her, I've done damage, her armor absorbed it. Ablative says you remove 1 point of armor. And then next time I roll 9, she only has 9 soak, so I do the damage, and so on and so on. That's overly complicated, but that's the best of my understanding. Now, there's probably other ways. I mean, because basically, even though you're rolling to hit, you're still rolling damage. Now, it could also be static to hit, static damage versus soak. I automatically hit. My weapon automatically does 6 points of damage. And then your soak decides whether I take it or not. My armor soaks 4 of that 6. 4, 2 gets through. My armor has 6. You do 5. I don't take anything. Do you now? Okay. Do you feel you did something? I mean, it all breaks down to, again, this idea that if I'm not rolling, I'm not doing anything. If I'm not hitting the bad guy, I'm not doing anything in combat. Well, again, the problem is first that erases magic, and you only breaking down combat to the only thing I can do in combat is hit them with a stick. And if I'm not hitting them with my stick, I'm not doing anything. If I'm not rolling a dice, I'm not doing anything. How many spells require the wizard to roll a dice to hit? Do the wizard have any spells that require him to hit? What, like magic arrow, maybe? Most of my wizard spells don't require me to hit. It requires you to make a saving throw. Where does that come in this mentality of automatic to hit? I'm automatically hitting. Does this also say, well, my spell automatically works unless? Well, then how is that different? Or is it just simply saying, if I'm not rolling dice, I'm not doing anything, which is wrong, because there are plenty of things you can do in combat that don't involve dice rolling. So from what I've read and what I've been told of the various iterations of this mechanic, whether it be soak, ablative soak, damage ignoring, damage resistance, I roll this, so you take that. Is that over or under? It's still math. There's still math going on, guys. There's no way you're avoiding the mechanics of, okay, this, and then this, and then this, and then I add 5, and then I subtract Q, and this is a Wednesday. Oh, but I have this, but it only works on 14s or less. Now we're getting into champions. I've got 20 armor, but only on nights of the full moon is the blah 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 blah. Now I could be wrong. I could be 100% wrong, but from everything I've read about the automatic hit rule in MCDM, remind you it's still being play tested, and everything I've read about the automatic hit rule in Daggerheart, it's basically I automatically hit, stuff happens. And then you may or may not take damage. Maybe I roll random, and if that's under your soak, you don't take any damage, but I'm still rolling, so I'm still doing something. Or I automatically hit, I automatically do X, and then your armor decides whether I do that or not. Unless the bad guys just don't have armor. unless it's just there's no armor involved. We're just automatically hitting. We're automatically doing damage. And then that damage is just subtracted from the hit point total. And then when the hit point total is done, well, the bad guy's gone. So I'm doing 30 points of damage. And if it's a 30 hit point monster, he's just gone. I'm doing 30 points of damage. But if it's a 2,000 hit point monster, then the combat still slogs on. Right? Now, going through all that wibbly wobbly bullshit, it sounds to me like my take is pretty much the only take that actually works, because it just takes what we know and switches it a little. And all these other ones are just all variations of, do I hit? My level, my level versus your level plus modifier. If mine's higher, I hit. If mine's lower, I miss. If your armor is higher than my damage, you don't take any damage, but I still hit. As opposed to, I rolled a 7, I didn't hit. No, it's not that you didn't hit. It's like you just didn't get through his armor, right? It's still the same thing. And whether you make my roll to hit and everything else is a saving throw, or everything's a saving throw, or it blah, blah, blah. It's version A, version B, it's all the same, guys. It's all the same. So I think, it just boils down to 2 things. And again, I could be 100% wrong. Thing number 1 is the belief that if I'm not rolling dice, I'm not doing anything. And if I can't hit them in combat, I'm going to spend the entire combat standing there twiddling my thumbs because I can't do anything. I can't walk over there and check out that chest. I can't pull somebody who's hit out of combat. I can't cast a spell. I can't leave the room. I'm just stuck in this perpetual stasis unless I can roll to hit, because for some reason I forgot that there's so many other things going on that don't require me hitting you with a stick, like 90% of every spell and almost everything a rogue does. I'm a bard. I'm going to inspire confidence. That doesn't require dice rolls. I just automatically give you a +2 for the next 3 rounds. I am still doing shit and I don't have to roll dice. So that's the first one, I guess. That's the second one is, well, there's just more power if you automatically hit and just do this 30 points of damage, because then you just feel like you're doing something. All right. So, but what about the guys who cast spells? What about the guys who climb walls? What about the guy who's pulling his friend out of combat and stitching him up? Again, you're just saying that unless I'm hitting you with a stick, I'm not doing anything. My new automatic hit mechanic makes it so you always feel like you're doing something, as long as that something you're doing is hitting them with a stick. If you're doing something that doesn't involve hitting them with a stick, well, then you're still not doing anything. Sorry, wizards. You're screwed. I don't know. I think it's the good guys auto hit, but the bad guys don't, or I don't know. The examples that I've seen are weird. So now it would make sense that if the good guys get the auto hit, then so could the bad guys. And otherwise you just have bad guys standing around doing nothing. And how's that any better? What's that guy doing? Nothing. Really? It's been 3 rounds and that kobold's just been standing there this whole time? Yeah. Why? Well, because he's a spellcaster. It's dumb. I mean, again, maybe I'm wrong. Somebody could explain it way better than I is. But I think the only way this works with the auto hit is just make everything a saving throw. Armor class becomes a saving throw. So instead of rolling to hit, they roll to dodge. What's your roll to hit? 9. So I have to roll a 9 or above to dodge. I roll a 4. Okay, you take 8 points of damage. That works. That works, right? Other than that, it's just permutations of the same idea. Well, you have to roll under my armor. My armor soaks this. Blah blah blah. How is that different? Because I'm actually doing something this round. You were doing something anyways. You're always doing something. If you're not doing something in the combat, you probably shouldn't be there. I flank him. That doesn't involve any dice rolls. You just move around and get behind a guy. I can't hit him, but I can give DM Kurt a plus to hit him because I'm flanking him. So this power fantasy basically breaks down to them having you believe that if you're not rolling dice, you're not doing anything. And the only way you can feel powerful in the game is if you roll a dice and succeed in hitting. And this gives you the power to automatically hit. You can forget, the damage. You don't automatically, maybe you automatically do damage, maybe you don't, but you're automatically hitting. So you're automatically doing something so you can move on to the next step. It's one less dice roll, but there's still going to be some other math later on. I don't know. It's confusing. It's dumb. It's stupid. But I said I'd talk about it, and I would. People are going to use it or they're not going to use it. I think at the end of the day, these gimmick systems like MCDM and Daggerheart aren't going to sell, because they're gimmicky and they're relying on gimmicks and buzzwords as opposed to good, solid, foundational. Is there ways to make combat faster? Sure. Is there a way to make combat more inclusive and more fluid and more fun and more people options? Sure. Is this the way? Probably not. Like all gimmick games, it'll be popular for 5 seconds and then I think it'll just pitter away. Where the fuck is Alice is Missing? Yeah, that's what I thought. See ya. Be careful out there. It's raining.